In recent years and picking up steam through 2024 and 2025, the world has watched as North Korea showcases a dizzying array of missile tests. But this isn't just the same old saber rattling. Something feels different. We're seeing everything from claims of hypersonic glide vehicles to new cruise missiles launched from both land and sea. Each test reveals a chilling step forward in Pyongyang's military power. Kim Jong-un has been front and center, personally overseeing drills that simulate a nuclear counterattack, practicing with weapons he claims are tactical nuclear warheads designed for the battlefield, not just for deterring a world away. His state media says it's all necessary to prepare for a thoroughgoing war. With every launch, Pyongyang is sending a message. The question that's haunting war rooms from Seoul to Washington is this: are these the final, calculated moves toward a war in the Pacific? To figure that out, we need to look past the headlines and understand the terrifying new technology being unveiled, the strategy behind this aggression, and the geopolitical chess match that could decide the fate of millions. This is the story of a powder keg, and every missile test is another spark falling dangerously close. To really get the scale of the danger, we have to break down what North Korea has been showing off, because the nature of these weapons is a huge leap in their threat. For example, in May of 2024, North Korea fired a volley of short-range ballistic missiles, SRBMs, from its eastern coast. At least one of those missiles flew 800 kilometers, putting all of South Korea and parts of Japan well within striking distance. But it's not just about the range. It's about what these weapons are for. Just a month before that, Kim Jong-un was on hand for a drill simulating a nuclear counterstrike. The weapons they used were SRBMs, like the Hwasong-Fo 11Ka, which Pyongyang openly says can carry tactical nuclear warheads. Let's be clear about what that means. For decades, nukes were seen as a last resort weapon, meant to wipe cities off the map. Tactical nukes are different. They're smaller and designed to be used on a fast-moving battlefield to take out enemy troops, command posts, or airfields. By drilling with these, North Korea is signaling not just that it has them, but that it intends to use them early in a fight. It's a terrifying idea that dramatically lowers the bar for using nuclear weapons. Pyongyang has even talked up its Haekbangashu, or nuclear trigger system, a command network they claim ensures a launch order can be given in a crisis, though its actual operational status remains unconfirmed by outside experts. This whole shift is built on a critical piece of tech: solid fuel propellants. For most of its history, North Korea's missiles used liquid fuel. Those are powerful, but they're a massive headache. You have to haul them to a launch site and spend hours carefully fueling them, making them sitting ducks for a preemptive strike. Solid fuel missiles like the new Hwasong-18 ICBM completely change the game. The fuel is baked right in, like a bullet in a cartridge. This slashes the launch prep time from hours to just minutes. These missiles are usually on mobile launchers, which makes them incredibly tough to find and track. Trying to destroy every North Korean solid fuel missile before it launches is a near impossible task, and that completely upends the strategic math for the US and its allies. And the threat isn't just on land anymore. Pyongyang has been aggressively trying to diversify, especially with its navy. They've tested what they call strategic cruise missiles from ships. Unlike ballistic missiles that fly in a high, predictable arc, cruise missiles fly low and fast, hugging the ground to dodge radar. By putting them on ships or on their still-developing submarines, North Korea adds another layer of chaos. A missile could come from anywhere in the seas around the Korean peninsula, making defense a three-dimensional nightmare. While the real-world status of their first ballistic missile submarine, the Hero Kim-kun-ok, is still very much in question, the goal is obvious: build a force that can survive a first strike and hit back, no matter what. So, what makes these new missiles a game changer? It's the combination: a doctrine for using nukes on the battlefield, the hard-to-hit solid fuel tech, and a threat coming from both land and sea. This isn't just about building more missiles, it's about building a smarter, faster, and much deadlier arsenal for a war. They talk about more and more as if it's already on its way. This terrifying leap forward isn't happening in a vacuum. The developments we're seeing are the result of a deliberate, long-term strategy, and it looks like it's being sped up by a powerful and deeply worrying new partnership. To understand where North Korea is headed, we have to look at how it's building its arsenal and who might be lending a hand. For years, analysts watched missile tests to see how far North Korea had come. Now, satellite photos are telling an equally important story about their ability to build this stuff at scale. We're seeing major construction at key sites like the Chamjin missile factory. That kind of expansion suggests they're moving from just research and development to mass production. Pyongyang isn't just tweaking prototypes anymore. It's getting ready to churn out its new advanced weapons on an industrial scale. Kim Jong-un has personally toured munitions factories, telling workers to ramp up output for what he calls a crucial year in strengthening the country's military. This internal push is getting a huge boost from outside help. One of the biggest geopolitical shifts is the deepening military alliance between North Korea and Russia. Forged out of the war in Ukraine, this partnership is a deal born of desperation and opportunity. North Korea has sent Russia massive amounts of artillery shells and missiles to fuel its war effort. In return, Pyongyang is allegedly getting something far more valuable than cash: advanced military technology. South Korean and Western intelligence officials have warned that Russia is providing North Korea with critical military know-how. While it's hard to prove, the concern is that this could include anything from advanced air defense systems to shore up Pyongyang's vulnerabilities, to technical help for their surveillance satellites, and nuclear-capable submarines. While there's no smoking gun showing Russia handed over blueprints for North Korea's most advanced missiles, like the Hwasong-18 ICBM, its design looks suspiciously similar to Russian systems like the Topol-M. Whether it's direct help or just shared knowledge, Moscow's support is almost certainly helping Pyongyang speed things up. This alliance effectively creates a second front for the United States, a strategic nightmare that splits its attention between Europe and the Pacific. This partnership is also fueling North Korea's hunt for one of the most destabilizing weapons out there: the hypersonic glide vehicle. Unlike a regular missile warhead that follows a predictable path, a hypersonic weapon is maneuverable. It detaches from its rocket and glides to its target at more than 5 times the speed of sound, changing course along the way. Trying to intercept it is like trying to hit a bullet with another bullet, except the target bullet is actively dodging you. Developing this is incredibly hard, but with potential Russian help, North Korea's claims of successful tests are being taken more seriously, even if they remain unverified. This whole strategy is built on a predictable cycle. North Korea almost always times its missile tests to line up with joint military exercises between the US and South Korea, like the annual Ulchi Freedom Shield drills. Pyongyang calls these defensive drills invasion rehearsals and uses them as the excuse for its own military moves. This tit-for-tat dynamic is old news, but the stakes are so much higher now. The TAT from North Korea is no longer a clunky, liquid-fueled missile. It's a simulated nuclear strike with a solid fuel, potentially hypersonic-capable weapon. With an arsenal this advanced and a strategy this aggressive, what does it mean for the world? We're not just talking about missiles on a launch pad anymore. We're talking about a redrawn map of power in the Pacific, where the lines between deterrence, provocation, and war are getting dangerously blurry. The shockwaves from North Korea's tests aren't just shaking the Korean peninsula, they're rattling the entire security of the Indo-Pacific. Pyongyang's aggressive moves are forcing its neighbors into a frantic race to arm themselves, creating a volatile loop where every defensive action is seen as a provocation, pushing the region closer to the brink. The most direct response is coming from the US-South Korea alliance. Facing a nuclear-armed and increasingly bold North, Seoul and Washington have ramped up their joint military drills. These exercises are getting more complex and are now focused specifically on how to counter a North Korean nuclear attack. The US has even run missile defense drills in Alaska, practicing how to shoot down a North Korean ICBM headed for America. From a Western view, this is just smart defensive planning. But through the paranoid lens of Pyongyang, it's proof of an attack plan. North Korean state media accuses the US of making a nuclear war a done deal, a terrifying mindset that justifies their own aggressive posture. But maybe the most dramatic change is happening in Japan. For decades, Japan's pacifist constitution meant its military was strictly for self-defense. North Korea's actions have shattered that. Japan's latest defense plans call North Korea a more grave and imminent threat than ever before. In response, Tokyo is making a historic change. It's pouring money into a record defense budget and buying long-range weapons, including hundreds of US-made Tomahawk cruise missiles. These can hit missile bases and command centers deep inside North Korea. Of course, North Korea has furiously condemned this, calling it a plan for re-invasion. They now use Japan's own defense buildup to justify their nuclear program as a necessary move for regional security. It's a classic security dilemma. Japan arms itself because it feels threatened by North Korea, and North Korea speeds up its weapons programs because it feels threatened by a rearming Japan. Watching over this entire chessboard are Russia and China. Their game is complicated. Neither country wants a nuclear war next door, but a tense, simmering crisis on the Korean peninsula actually serves their interests. It keeps the United States military and its diplomats bogged down in the Pacific, pulling attention and resources away from places like Taiwan and Ukraine. Russia's technical support and China's economic lifeline give Kim Jong-un the foundation to pursue his ambitions. They act as enablers, shielding Pyongyang at the UN Security Council and watering down sanctions, making sure North Korea can keep poking the hornet's nest without getting totally isolated. This all leads us to the most terrifying part: the risk of a mistake. In a region packed with advanced weapons, constant military drills, and hair-trigger alerts, the chance of a catastrophic miscalculation is higher than it's been in decades. Picture this. North Korea launches what it calls a satellite, but its path is misread as an incoming missile. Or, during a tense standoff, a nervous North Korean commander, afraid of a preemptive strike, decides to launch his tactical nukes based on bad intelligence. South Korea's own doctrine calls for preemptive strikes if an attack seems imminent. In that kind of pressure cooker environment, where missiles can cross borders in minutes, the time for talking and de-escalating is almost zero. The very systems designed to prevent a war could be the things that start one. So, let's go back to the central question. Is a war in the Pacific now unavoidable? What we've seen is a dangerous evolution of the North Korean threat. This is no longer just a rogue state with a few crude bombs. We're watching the rise of a military power with a diverse and survivable arsenal. Their breakthroughs in solid fuel technology mean their missiles are mobile and can be launched with almost no warning. Their focus on tactical nuclear weapons and the drills to use them show a terrifying willingness to actually use them on a battlefield. And their growing naval ambitions, from cruise missile ships to a developing submarine program, aim to make their threat unpredictable and everywhere at once. This isn't happening in a bubble. It's being supercharged by a strategic alliance with Russia, which offers technology and diplomatic cover in exchange for munitions to fuel its own war. This deadly partnership is accelerating Pyongyang's goals and creating a united front against the West. In response, a regional arms race is now in full swing. Japan is shedding its pacifist past to gain its own offensive power, while the US and South Korea are tightening their military alliance, running drills that look an awful lot like the conflict they want to prevent. A full-scale, premeditated war is not yet inevitable. But the conditions for one are more ripe than they've been at any point this century. The diplomatic guardrails have been torn down. The phone lines have gone silent. The region is stuck in an escalatory spiral where every move is met with an equal and opposite reaction, cranking up the tension another notch. The greatest danger now isn't a cold, calculated decision to start a war, but a hot-headed miscalculation in a crisis. With both sides practicing preemptive strikes and nuclear counterattacks, the risk of a small skirmish spiraling into a regional disaster is terrifyingly real. The Korean Peninsula has become the world's most dangerous powder keg. The question that should keep all of us awake at night is a simple one. What happens when the next spark falls? What red line, if crossed, would finally trigger a response from the US and its allies? And does Kim Jong-un even know where that line is? Or is he betting he can just keep pushing it back forever? If you found this analysis valuable, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. We dive deep into the geopolitical events shaping our world every week. Understanding these conflicts is the first step to navigating them. Let us know what you think will happen next in the comments below.